Hello everyone, I'm Cyndi Young with Brownfield, joined today by Missouri Director of Agriculture, Chinn. Welcome, Director.
Hi Cyndi, it's nice to be back.
Let's talk about some exciting news that was just announced, the EPA restoration of the use of Corteva's Enlist herbicide products. Farmers have been anxiously awaiting that announcement.
So yesterday, you're right, the EPA announced an amended label for our 5 Missouri counties who had previously been told in January of this year they would not be able to use the Enlist 1 and Enlist Duo products. This was very upsetting to our farmers in those 5 counties because the rules changed in the middle of the game on them. So we immediately went to work contacting EPA, contacting other states to find out what we could do to remedy this situation. And we were very pleased that EPA heard what our farmers and ranchers' concerns were, and they took action, and that they have amended that label so that in the state of Missouri, all farmers, no matter what county you farm in, are going to have access to that product this growing season.
And many of those farmers had that product ready to go. They'd already made the purchase, it was delivered, it was sitting there ready to go into the field once the time came.
Exactly. You know, many of our farmers made their purchase decision back in November and December of last year, and so it was really frustrating to them because 1, they had already spent the money, and 2, they weren't sure that they were going to find a replacement seed that would be available this late in the game to be able to plant the crop moving forward.
So tell me how the Missouri Department of Agriculture team got involved and helped make that happen.
So our team went to work right away to learn more about the endangered species that was specified in the label. It was the American burring beetle, and they went and found the research that showed that our 5 Missouri counties were really not negatively impacted by agriculture practices. And so we took that information, we shared that with other states, we shared it with the EPA, and we were really happy when the EPA reviewed that information and agreed with our plant industries team at the Department of Ag that you're right, this doesn't have the negative impact, we're going to amend that label.
And it is important, talking about the team at the Department of Ag, that balance with the environment and nature, want to do what is best to steward the land, the water, the air, the animals.
You know, and many of our team members were raised on a farm, or they still live on a farm today, so they have that connection to our agriculture community. They know farmers themselves, so they really felt the pain that our farming community was feeling and the pressure of this decision on EPA. And, you know, we were really proud of our team for going that extra mile to do the research to help make sure that all the facts were presented to EPA in a fair manner.
I want to switch gears now and talk a little bit about poultry. Poultry is a big segment in the state of Missouri, and growers across the country basically right now are dealing with highly pathogenic avian influenza. What is the current status of this virus in Missouri?
So we have 6 cases in the state of Missouri. We have 3 that are in commercial operations, and we have 3 that are in backyard flocks. We have been monitoring this very closely. Our partners at the Missouri Department of Conservation, they're in charge of the wildlife portion of this, so that's not under our control. But we have been in close conversation with them so that we can monitor the situation. We have had to depopulate all of the poultry on these farms when they have the symptoms. We go out, we test, we get the confirmation, and then we depopulate because we want to prevent the spread of this disease. We want to stop it in its tracks as fast as we can.
Director, what do producers of poultry need to be looking for in their flocks?
Well, we're encouraging everyone to increase their biosecurity, but if your flock starts to get quiet, the intake of water and feed goes down, or if you start to see an increase in deaths on your farm, you need to be calling your veterinarian or my team at the Department of Agriculture Animal Health team immediately to let them know of the signs and the symptoms that you're seeing, because the sooner that we catch it, the easier it is to eradicate it on your farm.
So let's talk about biosecurity. What does that look like, whether it is a large flock or, as you said, backyard flock?
So we're encouraging all producers, if they can, to keep their flock indoors right now. We want to make sure that they don't have access to water sources that waterfowl have the same access to. You want to protect their feed, you want to protect their water. You want to change your boots and your clothing when you're going in to be with your birds and leaving, so that you don't track any virus in or out to your flock. And most importantly, we're just encouraging them to take extra precautions. Pay extra attention to how the behavior of your flock is. And at the very first sign of something looks off, to reach out to the veterinarian community to get their expertise to help you, because like we said, we really want to encourage everybody to increase biosecurity, but when you catch it quickly, then it's easier to eradicate.
Let's talk a little bit about, the poultry in the state of Missouri. As I said, it's a big segment of agriculture in the state, and there are certain pockets where we have turkeys or we have chickens, and then there are other pockets that maybe not so much. So many people may not realize how many there are in the state.
Yeah, so we're in the top 10 in the nation when it comes to poultry production, and in the southwest part of our state especially, you find a lot of poultry. Our poultry in the state is safe to eat. We don't have any food security risk. We also have egg-laying hens in the state as well, and so all egg products are safe to eat as well. There's not a food safety risk with this at all, but it impacts our communities in our rural areas a lot. The amount of feed that they are fed, the labor that it requires to help take care of these animals. When you have to go in and depopulate, that's a hit for that local community. It's a hit for the farmer, but it's also a hit for our grain markets as well, because if you have to depopulate, you're not able to feed them. And then you have to let that barn sit empty for a while so that you can make sure that the virus is completely eradicated. So it's a very costly disease for the farmer when this hits their operation.
Director, I have had a couple of people in recent weeks ask me if it's a good time to either order chicks through the United Postal Service, which is the way we get ours, or to purchase them at one of the local farm supply stores that have them for sale. Is it a good time? Is it a bad time?
Well, we never want to tell someone how to operate their operation. We believe in having the freedom to make your own decisions. What we would encourage is that when you do make those purchasing decisions, that you are very secure in your biosecurity plan, that you know how you're going to protect that flock to try and make sure that they don't get the virus. We want to make sure that you're able to keep their food source clean, keep their water source safe from those wildlife as well, and also make sure you have a veterinarian on hand to help you with the care of your flock. Most times you wouldn't need that. People don't think about needing to have that relationship with a veterinarian, but we are encouraging them right now, reach out to the local vet to help you decide, is this a good time to be making that purchase for your family farm?
Kind of going back to where this came from, I guess, the migratory birds coming through brought the disease in. Since many of those migrations have come to a close, do we expect that to slow down the spread?
So the migratory season has slowed down a little bit, but it's going to be here until the end of May, possibly early June. So that's why we just encourage all of our producers to be paying close attention to their flock, increasing that biosecurity, and have that working relationship with a veterinarian.
I went to the Missouri Department of Ag website actually this morning and noticed that there was a place where you could get information. So if someone has questions or concerns, what should they do?
You can reach out to your veterinarian, or you can go to our website at agriculture.mo.gov. We have a link there that you can click. Or if you don't want to mess with the computer, you can call our animal health team at 573-751-3377. And we have people there who are trained and ready to help you answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Anything else we need to touch on with high-path avian influenza?
Just if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If we do find a positive in your county, there will be a control or a surveillance area. So if you see somebody from the Department of Agriculture knocking on your door, don't be alarmed. We're just there to make you aware of a situation, to help you know the warning signs, and to make sure that we have an accurate count of what the risk is in that control or surveillance zone.
Okay. Okay, well, let's jump to another topic then. You just returned from a trade mission with the Missouri Governor, Mike Parson. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about that?
So it was a really neat opportunity. The governor and I were able to participate with Department of Economic Development on a trade mission to Ireland and to the UK. And this was a unique opportunity. It's the first trade mission that we've taken since COVID. And it was an exciting opportunity to share the good story of everything that's happened in the state of Missouri in the last 2 years. We talked about ag issues, we talked about business opportunities. It was really just a great experience to share the Missouri story and to learn about agriculture in other countries.
Well, I think many times when farmers think about their products being exported, they're not thinking about Missouri specific. They're thinking about U.S. products going into other countries. But there is a market specifically for Missouri products and interest in Missouri products.
There is. You know, we have a very robust forestry industry in the state of Missouri, and a lot of people overlook that. But we do a lot of exporting of our timber in the state of Missouri, and so that's always something that people want to talk to us about. But, you know, in Ireland, they import 80% of their food, and in the UK, they import 40% of their food. And with the UK leaving the European Union with Brexit, they're going to be looking for new trading partners, and we felt like this was a key opportunity for Missouri to get in there and start laying that groundwork to hopefully be able to bring home some trade opportunities for Missouri farmers and ranchers in the future.
It was an interesting time to be in that part of the country too, with the war in Ukraine, Russia's attack on Ukraine. Can you just share some insight into that?
So it was a very interesting time. The feeling amongst the people over there was very different. The level of concern, you know, we in the United States and in Missouri, we're watching it, we're concerned, we talk about it. But some of the comments that we heard, there were comments about rationing food. You know, when you are dependent upon another country's soil to produce your food for you, and the Ukraine is the breadbasket of the European Union, it raises a lot of concerns, and a lot of fears were very evident. You know, they had seen how quickly their fuel prices had increased. They were seeing their food prices increase as well. And so they were very worried about it. They're worried about the Ukrainian people. They're worried about the Ukrainian farmers being able to plant their crop. But more importantly, they were worried about how are we going to feed our country if this war continues on for a long period of time. And so it was just really eye-opening to us. You know, we talked with some people in Ireland who were like, we're ready to house refugees right now. You know, they wanted to help. But also in the second breath, it was, we don't know how we're going to afford our food if this continues. We're worried about where our food's going to come from. We all know that the European Union and the United States, we have different trade policies. And so some of their regulations prevent us from having open and free trade with them. And so you could see that people were starting to think about what some of the trade policies were and the impacts that they could have on their country moving forward.
What is the takeaway from that discussion for Missouri farmers?
You know, I think that we have the opportunity to keep telling the good story of Missouri agriculture. Talk about the technology that we're using on our farms and ranches today and why it is an important tool for us. When a country like Ukraine is not able to plant their crop, it's more important than ever that our farmers in Missouri are able to get the most out of the tools that they have available to them. The science is there to support our technology, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to continue to talk about the technology and the benefit that it has not only to our farmers in the state, but to feed a growing world population, especially when you have a drought or a war like what we have going on right now that is threatening another country's food security.
Do you expect there to be more trade missions in the near future similar to this one that will benefit Missouri agriculture?
You know, I do. I think this is going to be an opportunity for us to continue to share the good story of Missouri's agriculture industry. It's an a $93.7 billion industry in the state. We employ 1 in 10 Missourians. We have, the 2 largest river systems in the country right in the state of Missouri. We're centrally located right in the middle of the country, 33,000 miles of highway for farm to market. We have, the second and third largest rail systems in the nation as well. So we have a great story to tell, and I think now is the prime time for us to be letting people know where Missouri is and exactly what we produce in Missouri to help feed the world.
And just a segue, rolling right into that, we are seeing the production of the 2022 crop either going in the ground or getting ready to go in the ground, depending upon what part of the state that you're in and what the weather is. It's raining in mid-Missouri today, so how are things looking out there? What are you hearing from farmers and your staff?
I think farmers are a little bit concerned. They're seeing everything that they purchase for their inputs increasing. And some people might say, well, yeah, but the corn price and the bean price is really good right now. But at the end of the day, net farm income isn't going to change much. Our fuel costs are twice what they were last year. You look at fertilizer costs, they're at least twice what they were last year. And sometimes, they have moved in a week's time to be a huge increase in that cost. There is concern about supply. Are they going to be able to get their crop protection products on time? There's concern about, what if my tractor breaks? Am I going to be able to get the part that I need? What if my planter breaks? Supply chain issues are abundant right now. We know many farmers who had breakdowns last fall who are still waiting on their parts to be able to fix their equipment for spring planting. So while the prices might look great on the Board of Trade, every input that the farmer has also followed that price up. But the biggest concern is, are we going to be able to get our supplies in time to put that crop in the ground? And are we going to be able to get equipment repaired if it breaks down? So there's a lot of concerns in the farming community right now with this new crop going in the ground.
And that's shared across the country. It's not just in Missouri. We're hearing it everywhere. And on the other side of that, again, Missouri is a state with much diversity. Peanuts and corn and soybeans and rice and a little bit of everything else. We also have many different species of livestock. It's a tough time to be in the livestock business right now.
It is. We've talked to a lot of our cattle producers, our poultry producers, our hog producers, and they're seeing 25% increases in the cost of their feed just in the last 2 months. And so that's really a difficult thing for them to pencil out. And so they are concerned. They want to make sure that there is feed to feed their livestock moving forward, but they're also worried about, how do we afford that feed as well? So there's just a lot of challenges right now. And while the prices in the grocery store are going up, people might assume that the farmer is making a lot of money. But unfortunately, the farmer is not making more money right now. In many cases, they're making less money than they have in years past.
So, Director, let's talk about what Missouri Department of Agriculture's role is there. You can't fix the problems for the farmers. How do you help?
So we make sure that our federal partners know what's happening in the state of Missouri. We let people at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the Environmental Protection Agency, know the challenges that our farmers are facing on a daily basis. We want them to hear from us what those real stories are, because while we're not able to control prices and we're not able to control the cost of the inputs, we can make sure that our federal partners hear what those challenges are, so that as new programs are developed, they can keep in mind what the challenges are, so that they're creating programs that are beneficial to our farming community, not something that's not going to help solve the challenge that they're facing. We also reach out to our legislators in Washington, D.C., our senator, our congressmen and women, and we make sure they understand some of the challenges that our ag community is facing. We're very fortunate. All of our representation in Washington, D.C. is very close to our agriculture community, so they have that direct line of communication themselves. But it never hurts for the Department of Agriculture to reach out and reinforce what our farmers and ranchers are telling us on a daily basis.
So as we look at 2022, we're already through with the first quarter. What are some things that you are looking forward to, whether they are events that the Missouri Department of Agriculture is involved with, State Fair, other things like that. What are you looking forward to? So we can end this conversation on a very positive note.
Well, I think one of the most exciting things that has come in the last recent months is the announcement of the American Foods Group locating in Warren County, Missouri, for a new beef processing facility. Our livestock community has had a lot of challenges in the last 5 to 10 years, and especially our beef industry. And the announcement of this processing facility actually is a bright light for them. They're going to have the ability, if they want to bring that next generation back home to the farm, they have the ability to make real plans to do that now. They might consider feeding out their cattle instead of selling them at a weaning age. The number of jobs that that's going to be bringing to the Warren County area is also a huge benefit. And it's going to help our grain farmers as well, because the more cattle that we can feed in the state of Missouri, the more feed that we're going to need in the state of Missouri as well. So I think that is one of our bright spots. We're excited about that. We expect American Foods Group to break ground late this spring, early summer. So we're excited about that opportunity. We're excited that once they break ground, that we're able to host, hopefully, some farmer meetings with the American Foods Group. Good. So our cattlemen and women can learn more about the company and decide what their future might look like in selling to the company moving forward.
And when you have an opportunity to bring a company like American Foods Group in, other companies might look at Missouri and say, wow, well, they moved there, something must be working well for them, so they'll take a look too.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You think about all the suppliers to that one business who might consider coming to Missouri to be closer to the American Foods Group. And that trickle-down impact is going to be great for the state of Missouri. And I think that's where the tools that the Department of Economic Development and the Governor's Office have created to do workforce training to help these new startup businesses get going. I think it's really going to be an asset for the state of Missouri, and we're excited to see what happens.
Well, we've gone all the way around the barnyard in this conversation today. Is there anything that we missed that we really need to share with our viewer listeners today?
I think we just want to make sure that your listeners know that at the Department of Agriculture, we're truly here to help the agriculture community. If you have an idea for a new business, for a startup, if you're just looking for some assistance, we may not be able to give you the assistance you're looking for, but we can help connect you to the right agency. A lot of times people call us thinking that we can help them with the Farm Service Agency programs. And while we wish we could, we're not that agency, but we do know who the partners are on the federal level that we can connect them to. So never hesitate to reach out to us, because we are here to help our agriculture community and make sure that they have the support they need to be successful in their community.
Thank you very much, Director Chinn. Missouri Director of Agriculture, Chinn, thank you for joining us today. I'm Cyndi Young with Brownfield.